What's going on, everybody? This is Will with 99 for Prodigal Ministries. We're so glad to be back. I wanted to just jump on here and spend a couple of moments just kind of explaining what's been going on in our lives, but even more so, just kind of wanted to talk about the gardener's hands. But before I get into that, I just wanted to say for the last couple of years, we've been pastoring a church, and a couple of years before that, just everything was just busy. Just got really, really busy between trying to get ready to move, shifting into a new season, and going through all the things that we would normally go through. But here lately, there's been other things that have kind of been transpiring, but that's not something I want to go into today, but we'll go into that sometime later. But today I want to talk a little bit about the gardener's hands, right? And there was a statement that was made that talks about the gardener's hands, and that his hands, everybody goes to see the garden. When they see the garden, they're like, ooh, that's a beautiful garden. I know we've got a vegetable garden out in the backyard, and when people come through, because I've got a cattle panel trellis, where I grow cucumbers and tomatoes and, whatnot, things like that. We've gotten a bunch of peppers, banana peppers, bell peppers. I tried watermelon. That didn't really work out. But anyway, so we are trying our hand at that. But when people come to see it, they're like, oh, that's so beautiful. That looks so good. But most folks don't realize the amount of time and effort and energy that it took to get that thing to the place that it is. The amount of work. I mean, I think, oh my gosh, it was a lot. It was a lot of dirt because we don't have anywhere local that we can get, like compost and, different types of dirt. It was very tedious work. My hands were dirty. I was sweaty. It was nasty. Oh, it was horrible. But it was worth it because it was a beautiful project at the end. Well, in gardening, you've got tools, you've got shovels, you've got rakes, you've got clippers, right? You've got all these different things that you use. And these tools are what helps keep the garden beautiful. These tools are what trims the plants down so that the dead branches will come off. The tools are what's used to dig holes so you can transplant and put new plants in. The tools are what breaks the ground up so you can put new seeds in the ground. The tools are what's used to cut the fruit off of the vine. All of these things are part of the gardening experience, but ultimately, even while somebody's just enjoying and seeing, they're like, oh, that's lovely, that's a beautiful garden. Well, thank you. I wouldn't say, oh, that's a lot of work. You have no idea how much work went into that. Just thank you. The tools that are involved in any relationship are similar. You've got some tools that are going to cut away some things that don't belong in your relationships. Not the people, the relationships. Don't get me wrong. There are people out there that they're just evil, and they're wanting to hurt you. They're wanting to. You don't need to. That's not the kind of gardening I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the work that goes into developing a relationship, like between a brother and a sister, a mother and a father, a child and a parent, or even spouses. There are tools that must be applied. There are things that must be addressed. You can't just say, well, that didn't work out, so I'm just going to cut the whole thing out. Because then there would be no admiration for that. All the work that was put into it would go to waste. What's the old saying? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't want to get rid of the whole garden, the whole relationship, just because one part of it did not work out the way I thought. I've got lots of plants like that. My watermelon, case in point. I had to get rid of the watermelon. It wasn't working. But I believe that Jesus Christ wants us to have good, healthy relationships, but they don't just happen. They have to be worked on. There has to be an effort put in by both parties. Let me go to the Bible. When you look in the book of Genesis, the Bible says that Eve was created for Adam, but she was created out of the rib of Adam. While he's the head and she's the one that's protecting the heart, it's his responsibility to pay attention to what's going on here. But it's also his responsibility to be careful what he puts in his eyes. Because what he puts in his eyes, what he puts in his ears, what he puts in his mouth and in his lungs, it's going to affect the rest of the body. Yeah, I'm talking to myself. It's hard sometimes to really have that self-reflection, to understand that, you know what? Maybe I didn't do it so well. Maybe I need to do a little bit better on this or do a little bit better on that. That's me right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing self-reflection. So you might see a bunch of self-reflection shorts. I'll call them SRS, self-reflection shorts. But I want to do self-reflection. And so as I'm going through this process, I want you to look at the same things. I want you to be a better person. I want you to be right for you, not necessarily for your spouse. Because if you're right for you, you're going to be right for your spouse whenever they decide to return, if they decide to return. You'll be right for your children if they decide to come back. You'll be right for whoever comes into your life, but you've got to be right for you. I've got to be right for me. That doesn't mean that I am right and that, what's the saying? I am just who I am. This is just the way I am. No. We're a garden and we're constantly growing. We should be. So I want to encourage us to be mindful that the work that the gardener puts into the garden, let the garden be the relationship and let the gardener be us. We have to put the work into the garden. We have to put the work into the relationships. We might have to move this way or move that over there or trim this branch off or cut this fruit off, because there are some vegetables, fruits and vegetables, that if you allow them to bolt, and that means bloom flowers, then that's done. It's done, because its goal is to reproduce itself. Oh, that's a whole different message. But a fruit's goal is to reproduce itself. And if it gets to the point that it does that, it stops the growth everywhere else. There are some fruits that are like that. So I want us to be mindful that there are things in our relationships that each one of us are responsible to trim away at. Each one of us have this innate responsibility to come and cut this out, or to break the ground so we can plant new seeds, new life. Amen. New life. Yes. I don't care if you've been married for 2 minutes. I don't care if you've been married for 50 years. I don't care if you've been a parent for 30 seconds. I don't care if you've been a parent for 15 years. If you've been on the job for 5 years, whatever, or whatever the case may be. This applies. But don't go into well, I'll work on me, but if you don't do what you're supposed to do, I'm going to stop. I'm going to quit. That's not the answer, for crying out loud. That's not the answer. The answer is to be reconciled in those relationships, because if you're doing it only so they'll do their part, then you're wrong. I'm wrong. I just want to encourage somebody today. Don't be afraid to get into the garden and get your hands dirty, because nowadays there is a testimony, especially with marriages. There's a testimony with relationships that go through hard things. There's a testimony with marriages that go through hard things. They survive, they make it, they're holding hands at 80 years old. It's a testimony of the work that they've done, and people admire the relationship like they would a garden, but they don't see the dirty hands of the people that worked it. So if I can do nothing else for you today, I want to encourage you. Work on that garden, because you built it. Like my garden, I built these raised beds. I've got 5 of them. I put cattle panel trellis. I've got poles. I've got all kind of stuff everywhere. I worked hard on that, very hard. Our relationships are worth the same level of effort. Our marriages, our children, our families, our friends, they are worth you putting effort into yourself. They are worth you getting yourself ready for yourself, not for them, but for yourself. But more importantly, didn't Christ died for us. That flesh died for us. I know it's probably not biblical, but if you will, it was the fertilizer to our growth. His death should be the thing that helps us to grow. I don't believe that we need to say, you know what? I didn't like that watermelon plant, so I'm going to get rid of the whole garden. I didn't like that tomato plant. I'm going to get rid of the whole garden. I'm going to throw it all out. That's a lot of work and effort to just throw out just because of a plant, just because of 1 or 2 things in the garden. the garden can be saved. The garden can start anew every season. Next season, I'm going to break all that ground up, and it's going to be ready even more so than it was this year. Because why? Because I've learned some things this year. We should always be learning. Now, there were some things that was too late to learn in this season, but when I get to the next season, I know what I'm going to do, and I know what I'm not going to do. I just want you to be encouraged. The garden is worth it, even if the plant is not. The garden, the relationship is worth it, even if this discussion over here about this is not. Even if the discussion about this over here is not. The garden is always worth it, folks. Don't give up. Don't throw out the garden because one plant didn't grow the way that you wanted it to. I hope that this helps you. I hope that it encourages you. And I hope that you're blessed by this. God bless you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.